What is the impact of colonization, religious conditioning on how suicide is viewed in our community, right? So, we got this whole concept of, colonization, these foreign religions and doctrines coming in, replacing our natural, our native understanding of mental and spiritual health from a moral or a punitive framework, right? We used to understand it, and we still do in traditional cultures. We understand somebody having suicidal thoughts as a person being in a space of imbalance, out of alignment with their destiny, with their purpose, right? But, you come over into Christianity and even so like westernized culture, and now it's reframed as sin, right? Because Christianity is there, it's a sin that can kill yourself, at least in certain communities. It's not in the Bible whatsoever, but that's the interpretation for a lot of people, is that it's a sin to kill yourself or what have you, right? And you're going to go to hell or something like that, right? And then in Western society, in today's world, it's looked at as just a mental illness. They don't see the holistic aspect of it, especially as it relates to destiny alignment and purpose, in which we do look at it from that perspective. Definitely in Ifa and Yoruba tradition, but also throughout African cultures, we've always seen these dynamics as being part of our purpose. Like, we came here for a reason, and so we're supposed to fulfill that reason. And we do everything that we do in the tradition, in the culture, to help us to achieve our purpose, our destiny, our function in this life. But when you isolate suicidal ideations, any type of mental health or physical health condition for that matter, as just one component, you're only treating that, and you're not looking at the full scope of what's going on with it, right? So unfortunately, this type of thinking has shifted us into looking at it strictly from a medical perspective. We'll go to the doctor, and the doctor is 9 times out of 10 going to prescribe you to some form of therapy or counseling, and probably some type of medication to help you to deal with it, usually just to numb you or what have you, versus looking at it from a holistic perspective. And definitely, if you come to the tradition, it's starting spiritually, right? So we're going to go and do divination to figure out what's going on and what we need to do about it. And you are going to do something to energetically align yourself first with those dynamics in order for you to get a better mindset and keep pushing forward in whatever you're dealing with. We've been disconnected from that, our ancestral ways of being, unfortunately. How can reconnecting with one's roots or culture rebuild one's will to live? This is so critical, in my opinion, is that we do reconnect with our roots, right? So when we get back to our roots, to our ancestors, to our culture, we get a sense of belonging, number one, a sense of identity that counteracts the isolation that we deal with. And I think this is especially potent for those of us who live and have to interact in Western society. So that being the US, the UK, other parts of European culture, Australia, these types of places. I'm not talking specifically about the Caribbean here, and I'm not dismissing the Caribbean because, or Africa for that matter. Well, I said the diaspora, but I say this specifically because in American society or in Western worlds, Black people tend to be much more isolated from their culture and from their roots. They don't live in a society that's all Black. Whereas in the diaspora, in certain parts of the diaspora, the Caribbean, in Africa, there tends to be all Black communities where you can connect with people in a better way. I'm not saying it's perfect because it's not, but it is a little bit better than what we have to deal with, especially in certain aspects of our society, right? So, but even in that, unfortunately, a lot of times in even Black cultures or Black societies, you're reconnecting but through a westernized framework still. So that's still detrimental. I'm not negating that you guys have to deal with that as well, because I know what that looks like as well. I lived in Africa, and it was very much so, where I live was very much so hung up on, Christian belief systems or what have you. Islam was there as well. And so it wasn't okay to talk about your culture. It wasn't okay to reconnect with your ancestral frameworks and things like that. It's still not in most part of the African diaspora. So that's a reality for us, unfortunately, right? But understanding our lineage, our traditions, our purpose, because that's what everything is about within the collective of who we are, it reignites a sense of meaning to life. It reignites that sense of motivation to keep going, even when things are hard and tough. It reignites your sense of self-worth. The whole notion of coming out into a tradition and a culture, and from the door, you understand, this is why I came here, right? And everything that you do thereafter is directed towards their purpose. You don't feel lost. You will experience hardships, right? Some people more than others, depending on their destiny path. But if you know that if you do certain things, right, and you go in that certain direction, you are going to reach wherever you are meant to reach. It is not the same level. It's not the same burden versus you just wandering around out here and trying to figure it out. Like, why did I come to this space? What am I here for? It's got to be more than just the work, the rest of my life. And that's it. Right. And that's kind of where people are in the Western world, unfortunately. This is what you're taught. Everything leans towards your occupation when you come out in the Western world, right? You go to school, the whole educational system in America, in any Western system, is about training you to be a good worker. So everything is about what are you going to do when you grow up, right? Go to college, you get a degree, and then after so long, you do the major milestone things. And then after a certain point in your journey, you start to wonder, well, it can't be that I'm just here for this, just to work, right? Just to be a slave, so to speak. It is slavery still. It's on a different level than what we used to think about, but that can be stifling for somebody. But when you reconnect back to your tradition and you understand your purpose from the door, and you are able to walk through life with their purpose ingrained in you, it is something completely different. So it is very important for us to get back to these systems holistically so that we can understand who we are and understand what we need to do in order to accomplish the reason why we came here.